Yes, people, how are we all doing? So, I'm going to do a quick roundup of the UK's latest crime stories before I do a bit interacting with the subscribers. And as you can see there on the screen, I'm at 80,000 subscribers, which I'm absolutely buzzing with. So, like I've said, I'm going to do a roundup of some of the latest news that I've just been having a look on me app that I get that talks about all the prison news. So I'm going to get into that before I start talking with the subscribers. So this first one is got a funny old name, this one. So he's called Reed Wishhusen. So a man who plotted to murder police officers using his collection of homemade firearms failed in his attempt to have his life sentence reduced. Reed wrote a chilling 1,700-word essay outlining how he would exact revenge on the police force that repeatedly denied his application for a shotgun license. He detailed plans to target former schoolmates and shoot random members of the public to draw officers to him before setting off bombs at Avon and Somerset's police headquarters. In November 2022, police visited his home near Weston-super-Mare. The 33-year-old then attempted to shoot himself in the head. He survived, and despite having a bullet lodged in his head, he charged downstairs with the gun aimed at the coppers. They shot him in the torso, but then attempted to save his life. A search of his house revealed a load of weapons and materials for making bombs and a police uniform, which Reed had taken pictures of himself wearing. On Wednesday, December the 11th, his barrister told the Court of Appeal that a Bristol judge was wrong to give him a life sentence in January. Defendant Adam KC said the discretionary life sentence, the sentence of the last resort, an extended sentence was the appropriate sentence in this case. There was no reason to extend it to a life sentence. However, these points were dismissed by Lord Justice Davis, who said to Reed, "This was, in our judgment, a paradigm case for a life sentence." So Reed, who was tuning in the proceeds of via the video link from prison, will not be eligible for parole until 2035. So obviously, he's went up and appealed against that sentence. When obviously, if you're doing that sort of offending, going to be shooting coppers, you cannot expect anything but a life sentence for that. Fucking hell, I didn't know what he was thinking. But this next one here I'm going to talk about is Alex Mill. So, a wanted man who flooded the streets of Bristol with coke has been jailed. Alex Mill, 32, from Weston-super-Mare, was arrested earlier this year in Morocco after a 4-year-long manhunt. He masterminded 2 organised crime groups which dealt drugs across the south of England. He used the EncroChat for encrypted messages, and he favoured by global, obviously that phone, what a lot of the criminals was using, that EncroChat across criminals throughout the world. Obviously it came on top and everyone was brought down by the Encro. But during a 3-month spree from March to June 2020, Mill oversaw the distribution of at least 130 kg of high purity coke, valued at around £4.5 million. His involvement made him one of the UK's most wanted individuals. The volume of drugs that was evidenced as sourcing and supplying through the investigation, together with his actions while on the run over the last 4 years, show what a serious criminal he is. It goes on to say it's easy to look at images of kilo blocks of coke or piles of cash and be detached from the misery behind them. People that have been victims of robbery, burglary, theft, gang crime, or violence will know that drugs featured heavily in the course. Alex Mill's time on the run has meant we've waited a long time to see him get sentenced, but we together, with the partners of the NCA, CPS, and abroad, we're never giving up on bringing him to justice. But it doesn't actually say how long he was sentenced there, does it? No. So I'm just having another look back there to see, but it doesn't actually say how long he was actually sentenced for. So I will have to have a look into that one because I did think it actually said it in there. But this next one is Marco Pierre White Jr. So obviously that name rings a bell. So a former celebrity Big Brother contestant appeared in court charged with offences of theft and burglary. So he is the son of the famous chef Marco Pierre White. So White was sentenced to 30 weeks in prison, suspended for 80 months, and was given a 9-month drug rehabilitation requirement in order to pay fines and costs. Pierre White from Weston-super-Mare was also found guilty of theft from a store on Winterstoke Road in Weston-super-Mare on Tuesday, October the 22nd. It says, according to the police statement in the Weston-super-Mare burglary, he was seen leaving the premises with goods in his hands, including electronic items and a jewelry box, and was spotted by officers in a nearby street. He dropped the items, ran off, and was stopped and arrested a short time later. Well, it just shows how desperate he is, who's got a father. His dad is a celebrity chef who must have a lot of money. And then you get him, who's going out and pinching out of shops and committing burglaries. The shame he must have brought on his father, eh? So I've got one more story, people, before I do start and do a bit interacting with the subscribers. Now, this one is of Peter Woolley. Now, Peter Woolley, believe it or not, he's only 41-year-old, from Bristol, has been jailed for 12 years after he pleaded guilty to 3 charges of attempting to rape a child under 13, as well as 1 charge of SA of a child under 30. In addition to his prison term, Woolley received a S harm prevention order, a restraining order, a lifetime ban on working with children and vulnerable adults. He will also be on the S offenders register. Bristol Crown Court heard how he SA and attempted to rape a woman in Bristol after confiding in her mother in 2020, which led to police being informed. But Woolley had fled to Jamaica the day after the most recent attack had taken place. Officer in the case, Detective Constable Elizabeth Howell, said, "I have to commend the continued bravery shown by the victim. No one should be subjected to attacks of this nature, but to have had this happen at such a young age makes this all the more horrific. She has shown incredible endurance and courage over the past few years while we attempted to bring Woolley back to the UK from Jamaica and into our custody. In the end, he returned to the UK of his own volition, but we were waiting for him." The judge described Woolley as robbing the victim of her childhood, and I only hope this sentence will give the victim and her family some justice as she continues to come to terms with what happened. But justice, jailed for 12 years. Well, to be honest, not much justice in that, is there? 12 years for what he's done to an innocent little child under the age of 13. Despicable piece of shit. Now, that was 4 stories that I brought you, and it did come up on the news app that had saying the latest crime stories. Now, obviously, 3 of them were quite more serious, but then the one with Marco Pierre, the chef's son, wasn't so serious, but because it's obviously the chef's son, that's why it's made the headlines. Right, people, how are we doing? So, right. We'll just address Paul Dunn. He says, "You speak like a robot." And the reason behind that is obviously that's the way we speak up in County Durham, up in Stanley. We don't speak as fast as what the Geordies do, but there has a couple of people said, "You sound like the commentator of Big Brother." Funny enough, I've just spoke about someone that was in Big Brother. But yeah, you sound like a robot. Again, when I speak a mild accent, when I do speak a bit too fast, then you do get people saying, I can't understand a word of what you're saying. So you do have to slow it down a little bit for the people that aren't from the Northeast because it's hard to understand our accent, if you get what I mean. Why I man. Angela Lacey, good evening. How are we doing? So, Guns and Explosives says, I am behind bars. I work in a pub. Right, I'll just see what other comments are on here. Ross Saab, how you doing? He says they turned him over to the Rug Squad. On about one of the stories I was on about there, I think. So Daniel Parker says only known about your podcast recently and hooked. I think what he's saying there, he's just found out about me channel on YouTube and he's hooked on the stories, which a lot of people are. But like I've just mentioned at the beginning of this live, my subscriber count of my followers has just went over 80,000 at the weekend, which has went up at a fucking great rate, which I'm happy about. 80,000 subscribers. When I first started this channel, I was only aiming to get 1,000, and to be at 80,000 within a short period of time, because this time last year, I forget what it was, but it was around about 40,000. So it's went up a massive amount. So Little Englander says if he talked quicker, we would need subtitles. And that's what a lot of me subscribers had actually said. They've said, I can't understand a word you're saying. Can you please put subtitles on? But a little tip for some of you that can't understand what I'm saying, when I am talking a little bit quicker, is if you go onto the videos and click on CC, that is for the subtitles. So you can put subtitles on without me having to put subtitles on myself. So the Joker says, big up, Ricky. Nice one. How we doing? The Lutonian says, 80k. Congrats, Ricky. Well deserved, mate. Thank you very much. Like I say, I'm bringing loads of more stories, loads of stories about the IPPs. I'm concentrating a lot more on them in the coming weeks because that video that I've done recently on Joe Outlaw, he has got a hearing, a trial rather, at Newcastle Crown Court on the 3rd of February next year. So I am arranging a peaceful protest for him at Newcastle Crown Court, and I will be doing more updates on that. And like I said, the IPPs, I'm bringing it more to the attention to get more people talking about it. And there is a lot more people getting involved, and there is a lot going on behind the scenes to get the ones that are still trapped in the system resentenced or get something done about this inhumane, fucked up IPP sentence. But I've got a lot of more videos coming out, as I've mentioned, about life without parole. Yeah, I've done maybe about 20 videos on that. There is a playlist section. I am going to try and get through the whole lot of them. But I've just done a video, which I'm going to release tomorrow night when I do get round to editing it. About a poor little defenseless 2-year-old toddler that's just been murdered off a couple. I'll not go too far into the story because I want to keep it for tomorrow night. So stay tuned, and I will drop that one tomorrow night. So Dan the Spider-Man says, oi oi Ricky, London looking on. Nice one. Cockney, how we doing, pal? So Bomber Burleson watching from North Shields. Nice one. Nice to see the Northeast supporting the channel. I've got a lot of subscribers from up here in the Northeast now as well. So Ross says I'm from Fife and catch your accent spot on as well, Ricky. Nice one. So Anthony Smith says, is it true there's 3 to a cell in some prisons? There is in some prisons, not a lot, but in some prisons, I think more so down south, because of the overcrowding situation. But some of them have got three man to a pod. I've never seen any jails with them in, but I have been told there is some further down south. So Lutonian says, I bet you've got a few good prison stories to tell yourself, Ricky. I have. When I started the channel off, I started talking about physical and mental fitness training because my book, Behind the Bars Ruthless Fitness, was primarily focusing on that on my channel. I was talking about mental health, giving a bit of inspiration on my channel, but then a lot of when I started mentioning prison in the title, the views started going massive, and that's how the channel has progressed. I was talking about my time in prison, but now the channel is more so talking about what's happening in the prison systems at the moment, talking about the IPPs, and talking about people that are just going into the system now. Unlike I've just done there, crime stories, what's happening at the moment. But like I say, I did start it off by talking about stories about when I was in prison, more so inside of Franklin. But since you've mentioned it, I will tell a couple of little stories now that I've told a few times. But for my new subscribers, I will tell them when I first landed in HMP Franklin in 2006. I was 21-year-old, went from HMP Durham into Franklin Prison, one of the youngest prisoners in there, landed up on F Wing, and there's about 100 people on the wing. The majority of them are in for murder. I'm in there, IPP, 21-year-old, not really giving a fuck, in there. Met a few good lads in there. The second day rather, I was in there, went in the kitchen. One of my pals was cooking a steak. A welcome to the prison steak, because you can cook your own food in the high security prisons. So we were in there getting the steak sorted, seen a big pan of hot oil bubbling away. We both looked at each other and thought something is going on here. A lad came walking in, picked the pan of hot oil up, went up behind Darren Barrett, who is a terrorist, head of the Al Qaeda in UK, tipped the pan of hot oil over his head. All of his skin and his hair was just peeling down the back. And that was me, second day in Franklin, what I witnessed. But again, the lifestyle I was living, I wasn't fazed by it. I was just thinking, fucking hell, this is proper prison. Not like the jails that I've been in. Your Cat Bs, well, not so your Cat Bs, but your local prisons and your Category Cs or Mickey Mouse prisons compared to high security prisons. I've seen people nearly getting killed inside of that jail. On another story, I seen a lad get stabbed in the neck who was deaded up. He was over on G-Wing and coming back from the workshops. One of the lads who had took the hit out on him came running up behind him, come running up the walkway with a big spike, about 6 inches long, stuck it in his neck and just carried on running. The blood was squirting out. He ran back onto F Wing. The other lad was on G Wing. That was because he owed money for drugs inside of prison. But that is just what happens inside a jail. You run up a debt, you don't pay your bills, you get stabbed up. That's prison politics, prison justice. That's the way it works in high security prisons. You can't go around taking drugs and not paying for it without something happening. So the Joker says the smell of burning melting skin must have been horrendous. Like I say, it happened that quick. He came in, but believe it or not, when the lad took off after he tipped it over his head, the terrorist, along with another Jamaican fella, went after them and ran in the pad and started fighting with them afterwards. He didn't actually squeal that much. He made a wincing noise, but he just turned round and went after him, believe it or not, because you would have thought after that getting tipped over your head, you would have been screaming in pain. But that wasn't the case. He actually went after him and started having a fight with him in the pad. But 2 weeks after that, a lad from over Gateshead, Malacrudus, who was sitting, eating his tea with a few of the other Geordie lads, came another terrorist that was on the wing. He felt vulnerable because he was the only one left on the wing who was a terrorist. He felt vulnerable to attack. So what happened was he went and got himself a pan of hot oil bubbling away in the kitchen, came walking down onto the wing, and just tipped it over Maller's head. His face just swelled up twice the size, burns all over his face. He was left in a shocking state. If you go onto Google, type in Maller Cruddas scalded by terrorist inside of HMP Franklin, you will see the scars on his face. And like I say, he was left in a bonny old state. In fact, whilst we're on here, if you give us 2 seconds, I'll type it up and I'll see if I can find it. Yeah. And then I'll show you the faces. I'll put it up. Like I say, he was left with a bonny old mark on his face. I'll try and get the pictures up now, and I'll put it on the screen to save you from having to look for it yourself. But like I said, that he was the reason why he'd done that, the terrorist, was just so he could get off the wing, believe it or not. Right, I need to go back because I kind of find it on that one. But yeah, like I say, he was left with some funny old marks on his face after that. But believe it or not, the terrorists did go on to say that the reason why he'd done that was because he wanted to get off the wing because he felt vulnerable to attack. Right, I can't fucking find it. Right, I should have got it before, but I didn't realize I was going to do this story. But I was trying to look for that picture, but I cannot find it, people. So it's interrupting. 2 seconds. I'll give it one more try, but if I can't find it, I'll give up because it's interrupting the live. Right. For fuck's sake. Bear with us, people. Hopefully I will be able to get the picture up. Otherwise, I'll have just wasted this time. Fuck. Right. I'm giving... Oh, there it is. Found it. Give us 2 seconds, people, while I screenshot this so I can get it up on the screen for you. Here we go. Turn that off. Upload. So there we have it. That's Malcolm Cruddas there. And that was him when he was in hospital. As you can see there, them burns on his face were absolutely horrific. He was squealing in pain, as you can imagine, which you would be with that type of scoring or that type of scalding of boiling hot oil that had been burning away in a pan for fucking ages. And that terrorist tipped it over his head just so he could get moved off the wing because he felt vulnerable to attack. Right, just go back onto the comments, people. Yeah, so he felt vulnerable to attack. I think Maller did press charges against him, and he got an additional 4 years, I believe, on top of his sentence. Obviously, the terrorist was serving a life sentence for terrorist offences, and he got another 4 years added on top of the sentence. So I believe it was something like a 20 years minimum, so it went up to 24-year minimum. Right, see what else has got people said. So, great channel, Ricky, brilliant content. Love hearing your stories. Should write a screenplay. But there's a load of stories I could tell you about what happened in Franklin, and another story that I will tell you before I knock off, because I am going to be knocking off in a minute, because I am Going to get myself back home. So I'm in my studio, get home and have me tea. But Sharpie, Paul Sykes' son. I've told this story before. So the ones that are new to the channel, this one is for you. But Paul Sykes, everyone knows who he is, or everyone who's got anything to do with prison knows exactly who Paul Sykes is. He had a massive name in the prison system. He was one of the hardest prisoners in the country. But he was in prison for bashing coppers. Then when he was in prison, he used to bash the screws because he was a fucking hard case. There is a few documentaries out about him. But like I say, he used to bash coppers. That's what his sentences were for. Then he used to bash the screws inside a prison. So the screws decided to make a story up about Sykesy that he used to bugger the younger screws. The younger prisoners, sorry, not the screws. He used to bugger the younger prisoners. So when they were acting up, the screws used to say, if you don't behave yourself, we're going to chuck you in the pad with Sykesy. It was a bit of a scare tactic in the prisons, but then the rumours got out of control and everyone believed it, even though I don't think they were true myself, because I've spoke with people who'd done time with him and they said if he'd done them sort of offences against younger prisoners, he would have been done in. And it was just bullshit made up by the screws. So his son, who is called Sharpie, Michael Sharp, was in Franklin when I was in there. He was a big, muscly lad, 20-odd stone, big, powerful fucker who had a name in the system for fighting and bashing people, but he was also taxing the dealers and that inside of jail as well. But you can't go around doing that in the high-security prisons. In the other prisons, the Cat C's and the B's, maybes, and the local prisons, you'll get away with it. But in a high-security prison, go around taxing dealers on the wings, taking drugs off people, you're not going to get away with that type of stuff in the high-security prisons. So he had been bullying a few people on the wing, and some young Cockney lad decided to take revenge on him, and he got a coffee jar, smashed the top of it, filled it full of chili powder, went up behind Sharpie when he wasn't looking, rammed it in his neck. I seen this. I was on the wing, witnessed it, rammed the coffee jar in the side of his neck, twisted it, chili powder in the cut. Sharpie pissing of blood. The kid ran off down the wing. Sharpie went chasing after him, bowling down the wing rather, screaming and shouting, saying he was going to kill him. The lad ran in the broom cupboard, shut the cupboard, and the screws blocked it so Sharpie couldn't get to the lad. Sharpie got took off the wing, pissing of blood. All the lads come out, clapping, shouting, boo, get off the wing, you big bully. And that was the end of him up in Franklin. He got moved on to another few jails after that, and he was done in the other jails. If you have a look up online, you'll see, I think it was in Strangeways, HMP, Manchester. He was done in of a few of the younger lads in there. I think he might have been up to his same old tactics, trying to tax people inside the jail. So they smashed him over the head with pool balls and tipped a load of boiling water over his head. So that was what happened in there. But I witnessed that attack inside of HMP Franklin. And again, these are the stories that I started off on my channel telling, and that's what everyone was wanting to hear. But again, the channel went on to progress into this, talking about a range of different topics. So, I can't pronounce that. Simth says non-prison folks don't know about this stuff. I wouldn't have known about IPP without your channel. But this is, again, primarily for people who haven't been to prison. People who haven't been to prison find this type of stuff really interesting, and that's where the majority of my subscribers haven't been to prison. But they love hearing prison stories because a lot of people, especially the ones that haven't been to prison, love hearing about prison. They love hearing about Moorish and Gorish stories. But anyways, people, I am going to wrap this up now because I've been on quite a while. So I'm going to go chill out with my lovely wife, have some tea, ready for the week ahead. Up for graft at 5 o'clock in the morning. Fit this in my spare time. So I'm going to leave that one there for now, people. Wrap it up. So I hope everyone has enjoyed that. It will be streamed again straight after this because when I hit the stop button now, it automatically uploads. So I'll be leaving so you can watch it again rather. So take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night and look forward to your week ahead. Take care.